Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, Colby Covington's explosive UFC 296 comeback. Colby Covington is gearing up for his octagon return at UFC 296 next month, and he's eyeing a title fight showdown with the current lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, in the future. Even Covington is calling it his most sought-after pairing. On the other side of the coin, Makhachev is all in for it too, although the Clovis native goes on to say that Covington is his dream fight. During his discussion with UFC, Colby Covington is making it crystal clear that his top choice for a big-money fight is Islam Makhachev. He's throwing in the whole USA versus Russia vibe, even dropping a Rocky EV reference. Number one for sure is Islam Makhachev, Colby Covington told UFC.com. That's the money fight. That needs to be settled. USA versus Russia. It's the Rocky EV theme line, Rocky versus Drago. Everybody is talking like he's pound for pound this, he's pound for pound that. Against me, he'll see a real fighter. He needs to stop being a weight bully, cutting all that weight to get the size advantage over people, and he needs to come to see America's champ, Colby Covington explained. He needs to come to see Donald Trump's favorite fighter. I'll see you soon, Islam. All in all, Covington takes bold words for the potential showdown with Makhachev. It is a showdown for the ages, and that long-awaited grudge match had fight fans on the edge of their seats, for sure. DC confess on USADA and UFC split. Now, the drama in the UFC just keeps on giving. So, Jon Jones is trying to hit the rewind button on his 2017 win-turned-no contest because USADA is parting ways with the UFC. See, he's asking the Nevada State Athletic Commission to flip the script and hand him back that win over Cormier. Whereas DC is stepping into the ring of opinions, making the air clean. However, Daniel Cormier lays down the facts on Jon Jones's wish to rewrite history. During an appearance on the MMA Hour, Cormier has told him to wait for a while. He's pointing out that the past is the past, and whatever went down while USADA was around is still legit. Importantly, he's emphasizing that events during the USADA era still count, and the organization's exit doesn't wipe the slate clean.
Have you seen since the USADA news came out, Jones saying like, hey, I want my win back? That should have never been no contest. You see that?
Crazy.
Does that annoy you when you see that, or are you so far removed from all of that?
I was just, I'm removed from it, but I just said we cannot recreate history now. We can't go back and say I beat USADA. Like, it's not like everything that happened. It's just like it's not like it didn't happen. They're not saying USADA was wrong. Anything that happened over the course of the time USADA was here is null and void. It's all still relevant to the time being. It's just they're not going to be the doping organization used anymore. That doesn't mean that everything that happened over the course of the time USADA was in effect is null and void, because then what? Michael Bisping was never the champ?
Moreover, DC is breaking it down even further. He's saying that the real game changer with USADA was kicking TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, to the limitation. According to Cormier, getting rid of TRT is what made the fight scene a fair playground. According to DC, Michael Bisping took on Kung Lei, earned his spot in the title fight, and snagged the championship.
Guys were openly saying they were doing, what was it at the time?
TRT. Yeah.
Was it TRT?
Yeah,
they were openly saying it. Like Vitor was openly saying it. And then when USADA came, they got rid of all that. They got rid of it.
No, I know.
And so then Mike go.
But people, people are very smart, right? They could beat the system.
Kung Lee. Hey, you remember Kung Lee?
Yeah, legend.
Kung Lee was the man. TRT. Yeah. He was openly saying he was using TRT. That USADA came, Mike beats him, Mike earns a title fight, Mike becomes a champ. I'm telling you, bro, it really did level the playing field.
Guess what happened on February 27, 2014? The Nevada State Athletic Commission dropped the hammer and voted to ban TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Now it seems that they slammed the door on controversial therapy. Dana White's no beef Shockwave. Dana White always has something to say, especially when it comes to Dillon Danis. At this time, Dana's not exactly rolling out the red carpet for Danis in the UFC. Remember that wild UFC 229 post-fight brawl with Khabib and McGregor's crews? Yeah, Danis was right in the middle of that chaos, and it doesn't stop there. So, when Dana was asked about Danis in a recent podcast appearance, he didn't exactly sound thrilled. You know, Danis has been shouting from the rooftops that he wants in on the UFC action, and he recently parted ways with Bellator MMA, where he had a 2-0 record. In the podcast interview, Dana White went on to share some insights into the dynamics around Dillon Danis. He stated that he has no issues with him, but he is a magnet for chaos. While he might not have personal issues with him, the track record of incidents following Danis around isn't exactly making him UFC's dream candidate.
Is that something that you'd ever entertain?
I don't know. Do you think he should be? I heard he just retired. The other thing with him is, and I have no beef with the kid at all. I've probably said 2 words to him my whole life, but every time he's around, shit's going down. You know what I mean? And we can't have that stuff going on here. We can't.
Surprisingly, Dana White isn't a fan of press conference altercations. In a recent chat, Dana White rightly pointed out that the kind of chaos that goes down in those altercations isn't exactly the UFC's cup of tea. While Dana's making it clear that these dramatic showdowns aren't some marketing strategy they're thrilled about. He emphasizes that the chaos leads to trouble with the athletic commission. When things go wild, people start getting fined, and it's on the UFC to keep everything in check. According to Dana, they don't need that kind of drama to sell fights. It's like Dana's laying down the law on professionalism in the fight game. Bobby Green fires back at Paddy Pimblett. Here, Bobby Green isn't exactly buying what Paddy Pimblett is selling. Surprisingly, Pimblett throws out the call-out. But Bobby Green's response is classic. He's not giving a flat-out and side-eyeing him as well. Most recently, Bobby Green talked with Wednesday's media on ESPN, where he expressed skepticism about Paddy Pimblett's call-out, essentially stating that Pimblett may not be genuinely interested in facing him. Overall, Green is asserting that Pimblett might not be ready for the kind of challenge that a fight against him would present. "There's no way he called me out," Green said, at Wednesday's media day for UFC on ESPN 52. "Paddy knows that's a bad fight for him. He doesn't want that. He's just talking. He's just talking, okay? Until he starts walking, get through Tony Ferguson, and we'll talk. We'll talk after that. But Paddy doesn't want that. It would be a bad fight for him." However, Bobby Green is stepping back into the cage this Saturday for UFC on ESPN 52 in Austin, Texas. He's all set to go in the co-main event against Jalen Turner. On the other hand, Paddy Pimblett, the guy who called out Bobby Green, is gearing up for a bout against Tony Ferguson at UFC 296 on December 16th in Las Vegas. Now, during his discussion, he also put light on his fight prediction for the upcoming bout between Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson. According to Green, he believes Tony Ferguson has the potential to turn the tide in the 2nd or 3rd round. Well, Green suggests that if Pimblett doesn't manage to take the fight to the ground and implement his jiu-jitsu skills, Ferguson is likely to capitalize on his striking ability and come out on top. Gradually, the world of UFC is getting interesting for the fight fans. Now, let's see what will happen next in the future. UFC fighter exposes Dustin Poirier. Interestingly, Colby Covington has been on a mission to make enemies left and right in recent years. He is pointing fingers at someone named Dustin Poirier and pulling no punches. According to Covington, this Dustin character got him kicked out of his previous gym. And yes, he is throwing some serious shade, calling out the irony of someone in a sport where people willingly lock themselves in an octagon to beat each other up. Essentially, he expresses a desire to face off with Dustin Poirier, suggesting that he's not only afraid of Covington, but even scared of his own shadow. He's declaring that the #1 fight he wants is against Islam Makhachev, calling it the money fight. A guy by the name of Dustin Poirier, Covington told UFC.com. "He's the one that got me kicked out of my old gym by crying and having feelings saying, 'Oh, Colby is a mean person. Kick him out of our gym,' while we get locked in an octagon to hurt each other in our underwear on Saturday nights. I would love to square up with Dustin Poirier, but he's afraid of me, and he's afraid of my shadow. I'll never get to fight him because he's just scared." Furthermore, Covington is not holding back on his opinions about Makhachev, claiming that people talk him up as pound for pound. But against Covington, he'd meet a real fighter. He throws shade at Makhachev for cutting down to gain a size advantage and challenges him to face America's champ and Donald Trump's favorite fighter. It's the kind of bravado we've come to expect from Covington. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.